Let's bring you some analysis now on these developments in Mogadishu. We are joined by Wole Ojewale, the Regional Organized Crime Observatory Coordinator for Central Africa at the Institute for Security Studies. Thank you so much for joining us, Wole. We just heard our reporter on the ground talk about the fact that the country's President, Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, is about to celebrate 100 days in office and has now just faced the most daring attack in his country since his administration came to power in May. What message, perhaps, is Al-Shabaab sending to the new administration and the new president?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Lindy. I think there are about 3 points to be raised here. The number one thing is the issue that you just mentioned about the newly installed government, democratic government. And then, you know, the terrorists are on the move constantly to advance their propaganda and instill fear in the people and throw government into disarray. So at a critical point when the government is about to celebrate its 100th day in office, you know, most governments all over the world is always interested in highlighting their achievement in their first 100 days in office. And I think this is a strategic attempt on the part of Al-Shabaab to undermine whatever message the president wants to pass to the people, particularly as far as his security agenda is concerned for the country. Something important that we need to pay attention to. It appears there is a coordinated attempt on the part of the terrorist group on the continent now to assert themselves and show, a show of force in terms of who is actually on the front line in advancing jihadist terror messages and campaign on the continent now. You link that to the jailbreak by ISWAP in Nigeria, jailbreak by the ISWAP affiliate in the Central Africa, and you also link this to what just happened in Mogadishu. It appears there's a coordinated attempt to make a strategic message and instill fear among the people and throw government into disarray.
Indeed, well, it is certainly a very a serious message that they're sending. Where does this leave the new administration? Do they continue with an offensive approach, or is it time for dialogue with the militants?
Well, the president has made concerted efforts in terms of his messages in the recent time that the government is going to negotiate with the terror group, to the extent to which they have the advantage of doing so. And I think globally it's an established fact that the military response has never quelled terrorism, not anywhere, not even in Sri Lanka. So there's a need to embrace that carrot and stick approach and see the possibility of having a negotiation. But on whose term and what are going to be the conditions? Those are the strategic message and issues or questions that I think the president needs to answer. And then the last thing is that don't forget that earlier in the life of the administration, former spokesperson of Al-Shabaab was appointed into the government as the Minister for Religious Affairs. So I read that as probably a strategic move on the part of the government to see how they can get a soft landing in terms of how they drive the negotiation with Al-Shabaab in the days to come. But the big question is Al-Shabaab ready to negotiate with governments?
A good question indeed. Thank you so much for that analysis. Wole Ojewale joining us from the Institute of Security Studies in Dakar.